Thank you for staying with us. If you're just joining us, the first half of the show is gone, but you still have the second half. Now, in the drive for urban renewal and a permanent solution to perennial flooding, the Lagos State Ministry of the Environment conducted mass demolitions of properties built on drainage setback in the different areas of the state, which include places like Lekki and Mende, Maryland.
Now, over this past weekend, there was an outrage over the demolition of structures by the Lagos State government at the Outrage and Mende estates in Maryland, Lagos State, Nigeria. According to the state government, the exercise is meant to reclaim the right-of-way of the Odo-Iya Alaro channel. News Central's Bettina Nwelih put together this report. Let's take a look.
I'm a supporter of this government. When they say I believe in raising this government, but this is not how you raise a government. This is this is the destruction of Lagos.
The Lagos State government has demolished parts of Outrage and Mende Estate Villa, clearing the channel to ensure better flow and prevent flooding. According to the Ministry of Environment, it was noted during a visit that structures at Mende Villa Estate are obstructing the channel without observing the mandatory 15-meter setback.
It is so unfortunate that we have to do this, but they've been on this since 3 years ago, and the plea had always been, give us more time. So if you choose to give them even 3 months, they'll say ask for more time, and the rains are coming. So it's not just taking the decision on the spot. That's not the way we operate in the environment and water resources. It's a painstaking process, and we'll get to the root of it.
While the government alleges to have sent out notice of the demolition in 2021 and 2023 respectively, residents remain adamant about not getting any prior notice, especially as they have constantly been up to date with the payment of their land use charge.
We never got any notice. We have spoken to the developer. Developer said he never got any notice. Our houses were not marked. What is a notice? A notice is to tell someone that this is what I want to do with timelines. We didn't get anything. So if they have, they should show us. They should show us who signed it. Where is the copy? We don't have any of such.
As a responsible citizen, I pay my taxes. I mean, look at this estate. It has been here for how many years? We pay land use charge. The government knows about us. We've paid millions, and there's evidence. I might not be a lawyer, but there's a paper trail to show that applications have gone, permissions have been granted, and that is why I believe that this estate was not brought down as quickly as other places were. Weeks before this happened, other places were, maybe because they didn't have their documents. Ours was a special case because we did have documents. And the Honorable Commissioner came to engage us.
It's quite unfortunate how residents of the Mende Estate Villa 1 slept as landlords but woke up as tenants, and some homeless and squatting because of the demolition process that is going on here. Now, a lot of the residents have expressed their concerns ranging from security to health and even health issues. When you look at the fence by the canal that has been brought down, residents have said that scavengers come in from there and they no longer consider themselves safe. Even the unaffected residents have concerns as to how these scavengers would affect the estates. It remains to be seen how the government of Lagos State will handle the situation, as a lot of residents, if not all, still claim that the government gave no notice before this demolition took place. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Nwelih.
There clearly has been a lot of demolition going around in Lagos State, where we reside, where we currently are. Now, we do understand that the rains are here, the rainy season is upon us, and that these drainage channels must be cleared. But then there has to be other ways to go about it. More often than not, we've been hearing about demolition of buildings and not enough warning time. Anyway, we're not going to discuss this alone. Joining us to shed more light on this conversation is digital news editor and team lead researchers, News Central TV, Mr. Abdul Lateef Ahmed. Abdul Lateef, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, now, Abdul Lateef, there's so many questions here. There are more questions than answers. Who has been? We know that you've been following, this whole demolition in Lagos State. It's not just the one in Mende, Maryland. Can you tell us exactly how exactly can we describe this that has happened now? Why the Lagos State government should not be faulted for these actions? There are those who believe that the government is right. clearing the drains, ensuring that buildings that are blocking the drains or blocking the passage of flow of water should be demolished. But why should they not be blamed? Because this has happened one time too many. And the major complaint here is there has not been enough time for these people to clear their buildings, or there has not been any warning at all.
Thank you. It is troubling, I mean, to see that a structure that took a lot of sweat, a lot of energy, a lot of time and money, come down into rubble. Most of these buildings didn't sprout just overnight. And so it is first an indictment on government that buildings had gone up and had expanded, as they said, they call it shanties, expanded to that level. And then it took again several years before they were able to come to pull it down. Now, if you are going to give someone, notices in the first place, you can even announce it on radio. By the way, if someone claims that they were not served notices, they didn't see it on their, on their buildings or facilities, we cannot fault them because we didn't see the facilities before the pulling down started. However, if you announce on radio specific streets, specific locations, there'll be no denial because, again, the announcements were public. Beyond that, what was the government doing at the time when these buildings were going up? Because, mind you, most of these structures cannot be put up within a month. You get it? So where were government officials at the time that all of this was happening? So it begs the question, how did we get to the point where people had to put up an entire structure, people had to pay land, rent, and all of that, and then government didn't do anything until now. So that's on the side of government. However, on the side of the people, again, what we have seen, having, monitored the process and, the documents from government, it is clear that most of these facilities are actually, on the canal routes and all that. And so it is, again, problematic. If these people actually feel they have a case to pick with the government, I think the best bet is to head to the courts.
So, Abdul Lateef, would we now fault the people for demanding compensation? Because a lot of times, we've seen interviews where, government agencies say things like, why should we compensate people who are defaulters? But from what you have said, they claim that they didn't get any notice. The government claims that they gave notice. There's no documentation whatsoever. There's no announcement whatsoever. At least we cannot attest to that fact. And aside that, you also did mention something which is very important, and that's a question that I've always asked. Where were they when these buildings were erected? You cannot say that for so many years you did not see these buildings. Of course, there are agencies that are in charge of inspecting buildings. Of course, there are agencies that are in charge of telling people, do not build here. Anything you get, anything you see, you get. But we have this nature as Nigerians, and we already know that there are always middlemen somewhere, somehow, getting money for something, approving buildings, approving structures that they have no business with. But for a long time, nobody approached them and said, oh, this is wrong. They just, and of course, we know that there are also agents who just want the money. But these people have believed for so long that they have documentation. Like some of the affected residents say, they have the documentations to prove. They've paid for a long time. So it is not their fault, so to say. We're not saying that they're not on canal roads, they're not blocking the roads, but on their own part, they've done their own due diligence. So it is now left for the agencies who were supposed to have inspected this to come out and account for what they have been doing. So at the end of the day, do we blame them for asking for compensation?
So it's easy to ask for compensation, because you cannot put up facilities or structures that are really, really that expensive. I mean, it takes a lot to put up, a structure in Lagos at the moment. And then just go home without, or go homeless in any case, without having to fight at some point. But again, for you to be able to demand compensation, it will mean that you have all the documents, you have all, I mean, if you can tender these documents in court and these documents are genuine, then I think, yes, they should be compensated. Where the problem is that we have, a lot of associated problems. For example, someone will tell you that he has all the papers and all that, but he probably got it through the illegal route. What I heard the commissioner say some days ago was that they are now implementing, a system where you can actually get, your land documents within 10 minutes, an e-system where you do not need to be physically there, to process things, and you just make payments and all the documents, you get it uploaded and all that within 10 minutes. Now, that will cut, processing time and cut off a lot of people who are involved in malpractices, sharp practices and all of that. If that happens, then I see a lot of a reduction in the amount of cases like this, because we cannot do this every year. Like every year, they pull down buildings that are on illegal canals. So we begin to wonder, I mean, how did this happen without the government, noticing it? So there's a part of government, blames for the government. There's a part for the people who built houses on these facilities, but blame games cannot return their buildings. So they have to approach the court where the arbiter will rule clearly that.
I totally agree with you, Abdul Lateef. But before I ask my next question, and very quickly too, just like Blessing said, I'll piggyback on what she has said. Now, these people said they had documents to prove that, they were given these plots of land or these pieces of land legitimately, right? I think, and you and I have discussed this several times in the office, where there is no consequence to bad behavior or to corruption or to corrupt practices, it will only continue. You clearly have just said that we see this year in, year out. It's happening again. In my opinion, the government agencies should look at those documents, verify whether they are original or not, and as long as they have the signatures or the names of persons in government who may have issued these documents, those persons or persons also should be brought to book. Until we start doing this, nothing is going to change. Sadly, we will continue to see documents coming out, being issued by government officials, and then when the time comes, the same government would demolish some of these structures, claiming that they were built on the wrong way or on drainage paths. Again, like Blessing said, where were they when these structures were being erected? But that's a question for another day. Very quickly, do you think that there could have been a better way, for the government to have gone about this rather than to just demolish these houses right there? And then, as you clearly stated, it will take more than a week, more than a month to erect structures. Where are these people supposed to go now?
It's a painful scenario because, again, I'm sure you have seen where people were swimming in waterlogged areas because of the rains and blocked drainages and all that. So sometimes you're wondering, between what is the state government doing to ensure that there's urban resilience and then people are protected from flooding and all of that. And then on one hand, you're also wondering, why are people doing these things? I don't know how else government could have done this, but honestly, tell me, for example, if someone comes with a complaint about illegal structures, I would say that, did you pay for the land? Where is the account number that you paid into? Was it a personal account or a government? I mean, because if you are paid for land, you couldn't have paid to a personal account. You'd have paid into government, official account. Paper trails are there. Go dig all of these things and then let the world see it. How did you pay all that you need to pay to the right government agencies? I mean, I'm sure you got receipts. You got people's signatures on it. And of course, the bank statements are there to say that you did this payment. How on earth would you now lose your property and not be compensated, having done what you should do, on your own end? So it's an iffy situation. We cannot really say how else government could do it. But honestly, I feel that government should have repeated warnings, should have made it public, should have gone on radio, should have gone on air, like practically drum it into the ears of people. A state with over 20 million residents with, heavy density, with struggle of housing deficit, would usually have issues like this. But again, how many times will buildings go down before people learn?
All right, Abdul Lateef, thank you so much. And I really would like to add that I think the government should also do better in educating people on the documents that they need, because that's another loophole that we see. So many people do not even know. Let's say you need like 5 documents. A lot of them will present 3 confidently and would not know that there's like 2 remaining that they need to provide. So I think that the government also needs to do better in educating the people on the specific documents that they need to legitimize their buildings. Thank you so much, Abdul Lateef, for joining us, digital news editor and team lead researchers at News Central Television. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.